What's up everybody? Welcome back to another episode of BS for Build. We're here working on our camper adventure truck. Now this thing started life as a 2005 Dodge Ram 3500. We bought it at auction for about 14 grand. We're gonna use it as our tow rig. Then we found out it had a pretty badly bent frame, and then I decided that we should make it a much bigger project. So we stripped the whole front end off. We fixed the damaged front end by replacing the frame, built out the new cooling system and all that good stuff so it ran good. Then we built this massive camper habitat box on the back. Basically built it out as big as we could to be able to fit all the fun activities that we need to in here. After we did that, we facelifted the front end of the truck to make it look a little bit more modern, and then we painted the whole thing. And that's how we got it to where it is today. Now, in today's episode, we got to start getting power going through this whole thing, which is a very interesting process. Now, this truck, our truck, has about 4 kind of main power ways. You've got, the truck is running, so the alternator is charging the power system. Basically, the engine of the truck is powering everything inside. You've got running off the batteries solo. So maybe the truck's turned off and you've got no other power, so you're just running off the batteries. You've got running off of a plug out of the side, shoreline, at like an RV park or just at home. You can plug it in. And then you've got running off a generator. So we had to develop the most elegant way that we could, and on the cheapest budget that we could, to have this truck do all of those things. And that's what we're gonna show you in today's episode. Let's get down to it. So here's the thing about this episode. Mr. Oscar here was working solo for a lot of it because I was in Florida at the Freedom 500. And then I came back for some of it, and then I had to do the company's taxes. So I was in and out, but mostly out. Let's start on the front. We've got to pop the hood. We're gonna start by showing you something that was already done because it's one of our 4 things that we talked about, and that is charging the batteries in the back or running the power system off of the alternator. I ordered a very high amperage output alternator. This thing is advertised to be able to do 400 amps output. So to calculate your watts, that's 400 amps times 12 volts, and that would tell us how much wattage you can run off of this bad boy. And so that, Oscar basically ran a power lug and then a relay as well. So this isolates, it goes to these 2 batteries right now, and then when the truck is running, the relay opens it up and allows that on a 200 amp breaker to run to the back.
The only thing is that relay is rated for 200 amps, this is rated for 400, so.
Yes, that could be a problem. We talked about that. Yeah. The batteries in the back cannot charge at 400 amps, so as long as they don't take more than they're supposed to be able to take, we shouldn't have a problem. So that's one of the 4 done right there. One thing that's kind of fun, we haven't tested it yet. So after we show you the rest of Oscar's handiwork, we're gonna go ahead and test it in today's episode. Now, let's roll some of that time lapse, that good time lapse of Oscar doing the rest of this stuff back here.
Guys, I hope you're ready. This is about a solid week's worth of progress of Oscar doing what Oscar does best, building. So at this point, like I said, I was out in Florida, and this is where us having a 3D model and a 3D design of exactly what we're planning on building comes in huge. So Oscar can just refer to the 3D design and see, okay, that, you know, the box that he's building out right here is 38 inches deep, it's 36 inches tall. He's got all the dimensions and all the measurements right there. The one thing that I did add in here to throw him for a loop a little bit is we wanted to integrate our rough country refrigerator freezer combo, but I wanted to have it accessible from the inside of the cabin. So I decided I wanted a fridge and freezer, and we had to incorporate it into this box, but I didn't want the fridge and freezer to be inside the box. I wanted it to be inset into the box, if that makes some sense. Another cool thing that Oscar's showing here is the value of building things outside on the ground where you have a nice flat surface and a lot of working room. You build it out on the ground, take all your dimensions, and then bring them in. And he's now working on the second piece, which is our bench seat. So the thing that he just built, that's meant to be a bed on top and then storage for the back, and it's kind of like a firewall, if you will, between our storage and our batteries and everything and the rest of the cab. So it's fully sealed off from the rest of the cab. And what he's building here is our bench seat, stores our air conditioner underneath it, has a lifting lid, and it's just a lot of storage as well. And then the bench seat is also wide enough that somebody could sleep on that as well. So you had to build a hinged lid for this that'll end up getting covered in wood and then padding on top of that. On to the electrical system. So before I left for Florida, Oscar and I had a sit-down meeting, and we designed this kind of in our heads and on paper completely from scratch. We, in retrospect, should have watched a YouTube video. There's a lot of them out there about how to design these electrical systems, but I'm really happy with what we came up with for doing it on our own. Now, right here, I'll show you on screen, this is what it looked like when we kind of had our map. And this is kind of a power map of how the power needed to go into the truck, how we need to get power out of the truck, all the flow and the way way that power is going to travel through the truck. And we needed to make sure that we accommodated for that and then ordered all of the parts to be able to do that. And once we got that all down and designed, it's up to Oscar to install that all into a board that we've called it, just like our power distribution board. Similar to how we build a PDM in a car, it's just a giant board that he can mount everything to, send wires through, route everything on, and bolt it all in. And then he can put that board inside the truck, inside the storage area for the final installation. A few days later, our batteries came in. So the Redodo shipment came in. Huge shout out to Redodo for providing us batteries, battery chargers, and battery monitoring for this build. It's a big help on this build. Those batteries are super cool. 200 amp hour lithium ion batteries, each one of them. And I'll talk more about them when we get to the next segment and we talk about how these things are operating. But it's really cool. A huge thanks to Redodo for sending those out. And there's going to be a link in the description to Redodo's website where you guys can pick them up. And I believe they give you guys a discount as well when you use my link.
So the back of the truck now has some shape to it. So Oscar took our 3D designs that we had made before and framed all of this out, welded up the frames for our bench seat. We'll show you in a second. That thing lifts up and down too, the lid on that. And then this is our back box, and this is where all the storage is supposed to go. So what we decided is we've got this area is our electrical area. This area is for our rough country. It's like a cooler refrigerator freezer. And then this area is just all for miscellaneous storage. And that's a jet airplane behind me. So in the back here, I'm gonna have Oscar walk you guys through a little bit of the stream of power and how it goes through. Now we've got three theoretical things left. Let's start with shore power. So Oscar, when we plug in, well, pretty cool to look at actually. Oscar went ahead and installed our shore power. Now we ordered a lot of these different pieces to the puzzle off of Amazon and they were all really readily available. So that's the shore power plug-in that takes a 30 amp cable, because that's the most standard one that we found in, what's it called? RV parks. So that's good. And then we also have an adapter that adapts that to 110, so we could just plug it into a wall here. Now, from there, Oscar, go ahead and walk us through where that power's going.
Okay, so that's shore power. It comes out through here. It goes into our switch, which is right over there.
And that switch has basically different switches for different options, and it's pretty much shore power or battery power.
Yeah, so in RVs, they have an automatic switch that you can just plug into shore, and that automatically changes from the inverter that's on board that's powered by the batteries
to shore power.
To shore power. But
and that is because oftentimes that box that does the automatic switching, it also charges the batteries. And Redodo sponsored us on this build, as I mentioned earlier in the time lapse. And I wanted to stick with all Redodo stuff. It just made me a little bit more comfortable. And I'm a big fan of, if we have the space, we keep things modular, right? So a couple chargers, a couple batteries, all working with our own sponsor. If one thing goes bad, it's not the whole thing that screws up the whole system. If one thing does go bad, we have lots of different fallbacks and we have ease of replacement and stuff like that. So I'm a big fan of just having a manual switch.
So once we have power coming into our switch, the switch sends power to our breakers that are right here. So this will cut power in case we have a short or something.
That's a 40 amp breaker.
Yeah, it'll cut the power. From there it goes to all our 110 plugs, which are going to be spread out throughout the truck.
Right now we've got one there that we're using as a test one, and we'll show you later. And then we've got them mapped out. We just drew them on the walls where we're going to put the rest of them. And from also, it runs to this guy right here on the wall, but not before going through a switch. You want to explain that?
Which switch? The
battery charging system.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so in order to keep everything separated in our switch, we weren't able to actually have a 110 that was powered strictly from shore power unless we put it directly to the shore power. So it's always on when the shore power line is on. So we needed a way to turn it off when we didn't want to be charging, plugged into shore power but not charging. So we had to put a switch in there, which is right next to our switch, which you can't really see from over here.
That's like a light switch style switch that's next to our switch. And the other reason too is these battery chargers, they're not the quietest things. So if we were camping and we didn't want to worry about charging our battery, we wanted to go to sleep right away, we just wanted to put a switch on there to shut them off. And yeah, so that is only battery charging. But the other cool thing is that's an outlet that goes directly to shore power. So if we wanted to just really quickly, like say, plug in a welder, we've got a nice little spot to do it right back here. You know, you just plug it in over there and plug it in over there.
Quick and easy.
Yeah, so let's talk about when the switch is switched over. So that's when the switch over there, the rotating switch, is on shore power. Now let's talk about battery power.
So right now I'm pretty sure it's still on battery power. But then we have to turn on our inverter, which we can do from inside through our
We'll show you that control panel over
control
there.
panel. And then that enables all our power from our batteries.
So we have the Redodo batteries that they sent us out. Again, I put a link in the description. This is 400 amp hour of batteries, lithium ion batteries. They are so much lighter weight than the other batteries that we've used. It's really amazing. And we've used these on the Lamborghini, like I said, and they're really, really good batteries. We've had great results with them. So, hey guys, by the way, I've been flying around a lot, and just now, literally just now, I noticed that the camera said that the stabilization wasn't on. So if it's been shaky, I do apologize. I'm really sorry. This camera's been in about 1,000 different bags, and it must have got bumped off. I hope it wasn't too bad. Anyways, a few reasons that I love these batteries. One is the power to weight, like density over a typical like AGM or lightweight. It's 1/3 of the weight than of what you'd get out of something else. So it's really, really good because they're LiPo 4 cells, and the lithium ion technology is just so much better at having more power density, so you get a lighter weight battery, which is actually important because now we're realizing after the 1,000 pounds of walls that we're gonna have to put into this thing, we're starting to get heavy. And other benefits that I really like too is that you can see this is the wire that we talked about earlier coming from the alternator. They can be charged in multiple different types of ways, so we can charge them off of 110, we can charge them off direct 12 volt from the alternator, so they're very flexible in that way. And they have a 5-year warranty, which is really, really good when you look at the rest of the industry. So battery wise, it's a sweet setup. So we've got not only our batteries, but then our battery charger, and then our battery monitoring system, which I'll show you in a second. And that is part of that guy right there. So that's a shunt that'll do a direct shut off if it reaches different limitations. So anyways, Oscar, we are talking about the flow of power. So it goes from our Redodo batteries, it goes into our inverter right here, and then I'll let you take it over from there.
Okay, so it comes out from our inverter, which is connected to our batteries, and you probably saw me take plugs off here several times. So I didn't know that you can actually plug it straight into the inverter instead of plugging into one of the 110
it's got
plugs.
Pass through right here, and then it's got an output, hardwired output right there. So now we can also run off of batteries and plug stuff into here if we want to from outside as well.
Yeah, and that'll be 100% battery power.
Yeah.
And then that comes out here and goes back to our switch, which the switch distributes power to everything.
Yeah, so then once again, it can go to our 110 outlets on the walls. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. And we will show you, what should we plug in that, so we're gonna show you how this thing works with this big heater that we're still borrowing from the neighbors a year and a half later. So this thing has a huge watt draw. Like I think it's like what, 1,500 watts or something like that? Yeah. It's pretty big. So it's a fun one to test with. So we're gonna run that inside into our 110, and we're gonna go, well, since the truck is already on battery, we'll go ahead and fire it up on full battery mode.
Well, I could just plug it in right here, and that would work right now. But we want to show.
Yeah, let's show them. Well, we want to show them that our wall outlets inside the truck work as well. Go ahead, and so that's a wall outlet that he's holding right there. It will be eventually bolted to a wall. Plugged in. Yeah. And so you can see the inverter's doing things, and that is a massive heater right now that's running. And so that's off of purely battery power, and I want to show you the Redodo battery monitor and what it tells us about this. So on the inside of the truck, right on this wall, we're going to have two things. One is the inverter power on and off, so that just helps us turn off the inverter if we want to. And the other is our battery monitor. Now this thing is pretty cool. So it's a 400 amp hour system, and you can see we've burned through 4 amp hours. That's probably just measuring the draw, but you can see right now we're pulling 1.6 kilowatts. That is 1,600 watts coming off of that lamp right there. That's like running 3 of the air conditioners we bought for this truck at the same time. It's pretty crazy. So when we're drawing that much power, it tells us we have 3 hours and 5 minutes left before our battery system is going down. That number does seem to be dropping a little faster than once a minute. It's pulling 130 amps at 12.7 volts. So that is that's a pretty crazy draw. That would be like running I don't know, a TV, heavy gaming computer, a decent gaming computer, air conditioner, all at once. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. Now, let's go ahead and, so I want to show you guys the whole switching thing. This is the 4-pole switch that we got that switches through the different systems, and this is to turn on and off the battery charging system. So now what we'll go ahead and do is we're going to switch it to shore power. I'll plug in the truck to shore power, and we're going to run the exact same thing just off of shore power to show you how easy it is. So since we're here in the shop, we're just going to be using a regular extension cord, so we're not going to use our 30 amp shore line. We're just going to use a regular extension cord and we'll plug it in. All right, so now we are powered by shore power, and then Oscar just went to the off mode.
So that's off.
Well, sorry, we were powered by battery power, so he went to off, and now you're going to go to shore, and boom, our light comes back on. And so now we're running through this breaker box right here. And the other cool thing that we can do now, obviously, is charge our batteries. That's the thing that you're going to want to do when you're on shore power a lot of the time. So that's what that switch does right there. Click that on. And the two Redodo, these are 40 amp chargers. So this is going to charge pretty fast. It can input 40 amps into each battery. So we got one into each, so we could charge basically twice as fast. And they're going. You can see they do have fans in them. It's a little bit loud. So that's why we put the switch here, is I could just imagine a situation where you might not want to hear that thing kicking on in the middle of the night. So we just had a nice little way to shut it off too. So that's the batteries charging back up, and they'll charge their way up to full. The monitoring system over there is going to tell us that we're getting positive power in and tell us how close we are to getting full. So that is our power system for, oh, the one thing that we didn't talk about is, okay, how do you run a generator? Oh yeah, well, we haven't fired up the truck yet, but how do you run a generator? So the generator has a 30 amp output that's just like this, and it runs to just like that. So it's very simple. You will have the generator in the back of the truck right there. We built this box to be big enough to be able to put it in there. You'd pull the generator out, put it far enough away that obviously you don't have to hear it or listen to it or get the gas fumes or anything like that. And you plug it into shore power, and you fire up the generator. And that generator is good for, what is it, 3,300 watts? So at 3,500 watts, we can recharge our batteries using 80 amps right there. And then you could do lots of other stuff, run the air conditioner and a bunch of other stuff like that. By the way, the air conditioner goes inside that bench right there. It's kind of where it's all hidden, and that's gonna be a real fun project of integration. Man, it's a little cold today in Oregon, and this heat lamp feels good. Okay, so I think we've shown them everything working. Now, what we want to test that we have not tested yet is firing up the truck and making sure that our voltage is what we want to see coming into the batteries, and grab a fire extinguisher, because if something goes wrong on this, it's probably going to be big wrong. So we went to go film this thing, and it didn't act like we thought it would, and I want to explain what's going on here, because we've got it figured out. So Oscar put a relay in here. Oscar left. Oscar's back. Will you go ahead and turn the truck on for us, Oscar? So right now, for instance, we're at 13.2 volts, and we've got almost no draw in the system. Oscar, go ahead and turn the key on for the truck. And we're seeing a lot of draw now come out of the battery. 300 plus watts, 20 amps. What's going on is the batteries in the back are trying to charge the batteries in the front of the truck. So Oscar, go ahead and fire it up. And now the alternator is kicking on and doing all sorts of weird stuff. But you can see our voltage is up, and that's what we really want to see. And now actually we have plus 130 amps. So now the alternator is charging the battery pack in the back of the truck. Plus is power coming in, negative is power going out. So now we must be charging, I believe, at 1.6 kilowatts, and we're charging the batteries in the back, and they're at 13.6 volts, which is pretty much the maximum. So they're getting charged back up. So the system is working perfectly. Go ahead and turn it off. Well, actually, you want to leave it on, and well, it's too late now. We're gonna go ahead and back it out of the shop. But anyway, so the system's working great. Now he turns it off, and it's cruising back down to about 0. But it is just worth noting for us is when we do key on, it closes the cycle of all the batteries, and those bad boys are going to very quickly, well, about 20, 30 amps, send power forward and try and charge the batteries in the front. Once we drive the truck around for a while and go on a little road trip, everything will be hopefully all topped up, and that won't be an issue. But just remember, as we've been building on this truck, those batteries have been sitting for, oh man, how long has this project been going on? Over a year?
Oh, I'd say close to like almost 2 years.
Yeah, we're doing great. So that's the 4 ways of powering this truck and how they operate. After that, Oscar went ahead and did the wood. I did the insulation on the floor, and Oscar did the wood on all of our These are our stringers, and it's what we're gonna be able to attach our siding to. But we don't wanna start getting into our insulation on the walls and our siding until we water test this thing. So we had an interesting inside out style water test when the big paint catastrophe of 2024. But we need to make sure that this thing isn't leaking before we install walls. So it's hard to film outside because it's private, but we've got a hose, we've got a sprayer. I'll stand on the inside of the truck and we'll look for indoor rain. All right, we're now inside the truck and outside of the shop. Before Oscar starts making it rain, we're gonna do a little temporary weather stripping now. That's gonna happen right above the seal on this window right here and the window back there. I'm gonna try and bust this out real fast. That's gonna emulate the long-term weather stripping that we're gonna do. That way if we see, you know, torrential water coming in through these window holes, we know we gotta, you know, improve on our design. All right, I went ahead and got that back window area all gasketed in. You can still see light through a few holes. Again, this is just a test. Oscar, bring on the water! He said, all right. I'll let him start raining on us for a little bit and check in with you guys in say like 5 minutes. That's the sound of the water. This is pretty cool. It would help if the whole thing didn't look like raindrops already. All right guys, very hard to see, but we've got a join piece right here where this piece meets here, and we must have not sealed it up well enough because, I mean, we got a leak, so that's why we're testing all this stuff. We're gonna go ahead and figure out where it's coming from. I don't know if it's coming from up here and then down or if it's coming from right here. So we'll keep testing and then we'll figure out how we're gonna seal it. All right guys, we're going for a ride. Now, it is the next day. It's like the whole day after, so we created rain. We seam sealed everything on the inside of here. So I mean, like, added seam sealer like here, added seam sealing along the windows, caulking. I mean, we went through, I think, 6 tubes internally, or maybe 7. We're moving now. We're pulling the truck back outside. So we're gonna need to do another rain test, but we don't wanna do that right now. We wanna give everything a lot more time to set up. So in the beginning of the next episode, we'll be doing a rain test before we install our siding. But after we did our simulated rain test, we also had another problem that I wanted to show you guys. What happened is our trim, these pieces right here, so rain was coming down and we were doing good with waterproofness and it coming over here. Then, because of surface tension on water and stuff, it beat it up here and kind of wanted to suck its way under this piece of trim, and then it actually created rust, and then you got like rusty driplets kind of coming down here. In one day, we were seeing like rust kind of screwing up the paint and driplets. So what you could kind of barely see if you look really close is another thing of seam sealer where we're seam sealing over all the edges. So on BS Rebuild, we're really about like, hey, we're gonna try and do things and we're gonna tell you if they work and we'll tell you if they don't, and you know, learn from our mistakes and stuff like that. And that is a mistake that I would say if you're building any type of a box or anything like that, treat it more like you would treat a house with shingles and stuff, where just everything just drains down and everything overlaps itself on the outside. Don't go for these like fancy trim lines and stuff like that. These little pieces of angle that we created for this have been the most time-consuming part of this entire build. It's taken us longer than any other single thing, between all of the metalworking on it, the sanding on it, the body filling on it, the seam sealing on it, everything. It does look good, but so I'd either say do it with aluminum or don't do it at all. But I think we were trying to be too fancy and it killed a lot of time on this project. This is crazy. This is, now it's not the project that we've worked on the longest actively, but it is the longest running project period on BS Rebuild. Opening up the back here, I just want to mention one thing. We got a lot more comfortable with our Redodo batteries and the way that this whole system's going to work. So what I did was I just fired up the truck first thing in the morning and I idled it outside for, I think it was like 2 hours while we were loading in some super secret boat stuff into the shop. You boaters might know what that is. Anyways, we just let it idle and charge the battery system, and I watched, and it was charging at about 1 kilowatt positive energy coming out of the alternator into these batteries for like about an hour and a half. And then when the batteries got fully charged up and they liked their voltage and it was kind of just at the peak voltage, it just stopped sending voltage to the batteries and they were good and they were topped off. After that, we tested out running the air conditioner in here. I forgot to tell you guys about that. So that was kind of fun. We just plugged in the air conditioner in a hot spot up there, and we ran it for a while, and it ran at a max of 400 watts draw that it was pulling out of there, so we can run it for a lot of hours on this battery system alone. You could run the air conditioner for a lot of hours on a 400 watt draw. So that's awesome. Now we just got to figure out how we're going to integrate the air conditioner in there so it gets enough fresh air, doesn't overheat, all that good stuff. So what that means is, as far as the electrical system, now there's no unknowns. There's nothing that we're like curious about how it works or need to figure out still or anything like that. We know how everything works, and we're very, very happy with how everything is working. And we got more lifetime for our air conditioner than I even expected. So that makes me really, really happy. We did leave this thing out in the sun for a whole day and worked in it and tested it out. And we're gonna now paint the top of the roof white. That's one thing. We're adding ventilation in the next episode. A lot of good stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. We're gonna just keep building this thing out at a rapid pace, and it'll be awesomer before you know it. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Peace!
Come on!